everyone, and welcome to another episode of our KinderUSA speaker series, where we are focusing this Ramadan on experts doing the work on the ground, the heroes who are really making a difference in the lives of Palestinian children and their families. And today we have a special guest who's actually not on the ground over there in Palestine, but here with us in Los Angeles. But he is an expert that we absolutely need to talk to and hear from before we talk to the people who are working on the programs in Gaza and in the West Bank and in the refugee camps. And so I'm really excited to have with us Dr. Afif Hassan. He's a pediatric physician here in Los Angeles. And the reason we're talking to him today is to talk about the diets and the nutritional needs of children. And we all know about the food insecurity that Palestinian children and their families are experiencing and how they are not getting the nutrition they need to be getting. The vast majority of them are not getting, and some are barely getting meals at all. And so it's really important for us to know what the needs are, to know what these children are missing so that we can better understand the programs and the need to have these programs on the ground, making sure that they're getting nutritious meals. And once again, the reason we do all of this is so that you are aware of the programs KinderUSA is doing and the help that they are helping the children, and how important it is for all of us to do what we can and reach in our pockets and see how we can help these children have nutritious meals and have a chance at life. So let's begin. I'm happy to say that we've got with us Dr. Afif El Hassan. Dr. Afif, so good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me on.
So I want to talk a little bit, just from a basic standpoint, let's talk about the basic nutritional needs of children so that they can thrive. They can thrive height-wise and weight-wise and mental ability and energy and everything, because I think it's really important to think about that. We don't often think about it. It's a non-issue for most of us because our children are getting all the nutrition they need. But when we think about children who don't have access to all of that, it's important to be reminded of those needs.
Absolutely. There are a lot of different aspects to talk about for kids and their nutrition, and all of them are important and all of them need to be addressed. And I also want to acknowledge that with children's health, you also have to acknowledge the mother's health as well, since nutrition of the child actually starts within the womb. And we need to have a healthy mom who delivers a healthy baby so that the baby has all the advantages possible to develop into a healthy adult. Now, with the children, with the infants, obviously they need significant amounts of nutrition to begin with as they go into becoming toddlers and as they become young adults. But what's also important to remember, and what is very nice about the kinder programs, is the fact that we understand, and what is being addressed is the fact that children need a combination of protein, of carbohydrates, of fat, and we have to make sure that in an environment like we have in Gaza, where there's very limited resources, that every calorie that a child eats has meaning and is nutritious and provides the important nutrition and building blocks that the child needs to become an adult, a healthy adult.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk a little bit about some of these, the things that you know for a fact and that we all know children in Gaza are missing on a daily basis.
Unfortunately, all of the different nutrients that we need are in short supply in Gaza. So a child needs whole grains, needs to have carbohydrates that are healthy and that have fiber in them for good digestion. A child needs enough healthy fat, which you can get from either animal sources or from things like oils and eggs. And a child needs fruits and vegetables in order to get vitamins. In that area, they are all in short supply, and we have to make sure that all of the children there get adequate amounts of all of those different food sources to get proper nutrition.
Another thing you have addressed in the PowerPoint presentation that we will be able to show images from is that there's also things that increase the caloric needs. And children in Gaza are experiencing a lot of those things, such as illness and stress and healing injuries and growth spurts and puberty, obviously. But, there's just so much going on, increased physical exertion, coping with cold and heat. So we know that the children are experiencing a lot of these adverse situations that add to their need for calories, correct?
That is correct. I don't think it's fair when when a government or a group start doing calculations and say this is the caloric needs of your average child, because a child who's sitting in a warm home, let's say here in the United States, their calculations need to be very different from a child who's unfortunately shivering from cold in Gaza, or a child who is fighting a disease or a premature infant. Those children have higher caloric needs. I'm also going to add to that one more reason we need to make sure that there's the healthy fruits and vegetables is we need our bodies to be prepared to deal with toxins and pollution. And in an environment in that area, fresh fruit and vegetables give the antioxidants that the body needs to make sure that we're up to the task. And in an area like Gaza or any refugee camp or any area that is impoverished, there's very often increased pollution, toxins, and disease, which means your body needs more calories and more resources to fight them.
So obviously, kids don't get all the nutrition and the nutrients that they need. We expect some obvious things like, being underweight and so on. But I want to talk a little bit about the risks and the problems that come from having limited access to things such as meat and dairy, because those are a really big one for the children in Gaza.
You bring up a very important point that I like to emphasize. Here in the United States, where I practice, if a child goes vegetarian, they don't just go vegetarian. We give them pamphlets. We give them information. We often have a dietitian talk to them, because a developing child who doesn't eat meat or eggs or dairy has to have a very specific diet to stay healthy, or it's going to go very badly. In a condition like there is in Gaza, or a refugee condition where essentially a child is often forced into long periods of time without meat or eggs or dairy, so a forced vegetarian diet. We're not offering extensive dietary services. That child has to make do with what they have, and it becomes our responsibility to make sure that we get meat and eggs and anything the protein they need, and if not, make sure that the substitutes that are given are doing the job they need to for the child. Otherwise, there's going to be bone issues, growth issues, brain development issues, psychiatric issues. We can't forget the brain as well in that aspect. And we need to make sure all of that is addressed when we address their nutrition.
And you talked a little bit, you mentioned at the beginning, mothers. When we do programs and when we focus on programs for children, what are the special points that we need to work on for mothers, especially mothers that are going to be pregnant and mothers that are going to be lactating and so on?
Yes, and by the way, I'll acknowledge this is being interviewed the day before Mother's Day. So an acknowledgement to my wonderful wife, my mother, and all the mothers everywhere that give so much to their children. So I'd like to do that acknowledgement. But it is a mother must be healthy to have a healthy child delivered. And that is part of the education. The first instinct of any parent is to give their child everything and give themselves the minimal they need. But a mother who is pregnant or who is breastfeeding has a secondary, very important responsibility. And what we need to have happen is mom to deliver a nice, chubby, healthy baby that's screaming at the top of their lungs because they're so healthy and vigorous. That baby will survive more easily. will develop better, is less likely to be in a neonatal intensive care unit with problems, is better able to endure the exposure to infectious disease and pollution that we see in places like Gaza and other refugee camps.
Mm-hmm.
So maternal diet, maternal nutrition and health must be part of the solution and must be addressed as well.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about, a lot of what you addressed is super important to the programs that Kinder does. The programs, the food distribution programs, the farmer programs, and that's who we will be talking to next. Someone working on the farmers programs. If you kind of had some final words of advice or of direction for us when it comes to making sure that we are doing everything we can to give these children an opportunity to grow to their maximum potential physically and mentally, what would that be?
I would, first of all, I want to commend Kinder's different programs. I think the chicken farmer program, the egg production, the other food distribution, all of it's not only important for nutrition, but also to lift children's hearts and everyone's hearts. And that's very important because the psychological part of it and feeling safe about having enough food is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
But the advice that I would give always, and this is to those who contribute and to the program as well, is whatever you think you need, add 20 or 30% to that.
Yeah.
Because we need more for those children to be able to cope with the physical challenges that their body has to endure, and we need to take that into account as well. Mm-hmm. There will never, at least in the short term, be abundance of food, but what we need to make sure is when a child is satisfied with their meal at night, that it has to be from nutritious food that we've provided and not from juices or sweet drinks or other things that sometimes are given to suppress the diet when we have nothing else to give. We have to make sure there's always something else to give. And we have to make sure whatever that is, it provides sustenance and appropriate nutrition for the child.
Mm-hmm. Doctor, thank you so much. Thank you for your insight on all this. And thank you for bringing up a point that I think even, I am guilty of not thinking about, which is when we measure or when we think about what children need, we think about children, in a vacuum or in a good situation. And these children have such adverse conditions all around them that actually their need is heightened, just even in terms of calories and in terms of nutritious elements. So thank you so much for being with us and giving us your insights and reminding us of all of the things that are important to provide these children.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
And on that note, I would like to bring in Noor Abu Zaitar. She is the project manager for the KinderUSA Ramadan Farmers Food Distribution Program, which is a program that is doing exactly what Dr. Afif was talking about. I also want to bring also with us is Hina Jamal. She's the KinderUSA country coordinator, and she will be with us to talk about some of these programs that we're doing. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for being with us, and Ramadan Mubarak.
Yeah, welcome.
So tell me a little bit about what the Farmers Food Distribution Program is doing and how it's working.
This project provides families with a helpful fresh food basket twice in Gaza Strip. The project provides families with a helpful, healthy, fresh food parcel and also handmade food a fresh food basket twice in Ramadan and several times in fresh food such as vegetable, fruits, chicken, cheese, data cookies, eggs, and many other seasonal items, which meet the basic needs of the poor households.
That's wonderful. Hannah, I want to ask you a little bit about the conditions in Gaza. We talk a lot about, we all know that the conditions are bad, but it's very different for us to talk about them here and for you to talk about them from a firsthand perspective and tell us how difficult the situation is and why, we partner with organizations, why we are with Beit Lahia to do all of these different programs that help us as people on so many different fronts, farmers, women, the families and their children.
Yeah. Okay, Maha, let me start by saying that I think the situation in Gaza has never been worse than today. Because we have today we have the COVID-19 pandemic, which added more burden on the situation in Gaza. As today the people lived in double quarantine. We have the blockade that started since more than 14 years, and currently we have another quarantine, which is the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, if we are talking about the situation in Gaza, I think it is we can say that it is terrible. Let me start by the situation related to the COVID-19 in Gaza. When we are talking about the COVID-19, we are talking about 30% of daily tests are positive. When we are talking about 30% of positive cases of COVID-19 daily, which means that we are talking about 2 million of the people in Gaza who live in about 460 kilometer squares, which is the most population density area in the world. It means that it is a severe situation related to COVID-19. To be honest, I believe that COVID-19 situation today highlighted, highlighted the unlivable conditions of the Gazans here, which means that it led to more food insecurity, to more unemployment, and also to more poverty rates or higher poverty rates. Also, if we are talking about the health situation in Gaza, it means that we are talking about the issues related to the health, the issues related to the hospitals, in the lack of medication. We have a shortage of medication in Gaza by about 47%, which is, I think, a big problem to meet the needs of the patients of COVID-19. Additionally, the COVID-19, it affected, when we're talking, it affected the people in Gaza. It is because the people in Gaza depend mainly on the daily wages jobs, which means that if we have a quarantine, we have a closure, we have a higher rate of unemployment. And so the most people here, more than 80% of people, depend mainly on the humanitarian aid. This is the situation. It is the economic situation. But of course, we cannot ignore the issues related to the children. When we are talking about the economic situation, it affects all the families. It affects the children, the disabled people, and other marginalized people in these families. Additionally, we have a psychosocial problem. When we are talking about the Gaza children, those children deal with the schools as an outlet to release their energy and the pressure that they suffer in their families and in their communities. And currently, for the past months, we have closed schools, which means that those children don't deal with any peers, which means that it will lead later to severe social problems with those children. I think one of the quotes here that I hear every day in Gaza, that the people say that we prefer to die from COVID-19 instead of hunger, because if it is closed, they don't have jobs, they cannot meet their basic needs. And so they prefer sometimes to go and to work, but there is no work in Gaza in this situation. So I believe, to be honest, that the need in Gaza is very high today, because of the levels of poverty, the food insecurity, the psychosocial problems, unemployment, and also I think that it is now, I believe that it is like the reality of Gaza, and we cannot imagine how it will finish in this situation. Also, I would like to add to what Noor said about the food basket distribution in Ramadan. The good thing about KinderUSA working in Gaza and how it meets the need of the people in Gaza, that we try all the time to work on two levels. We don't ignore the development issue, even we are working on the humanitarian aid, which means when we are talking about the humanitarian aid and distribute the food basket for the needy family, at the same time we are trying to support the farmers and the women in the other level to continue their livelihood, to continue their work, and to enlarge or to keep the work there, which is, I think, one of the best programs in Gaza, as all the programs all the time they are working maybe for the humanitarian aid or for the development. What we try to do in KinderUSA is that we try to focus on the two levels, to not, let me say, to not lose the value of the program and the fund that we have for Gaza.
Mm-hmm. Hannah, I agree with you completely. I think that one of the most brilliant things about this particular program is the fact that it is able to help on multiple levels. It is able to help the neediest and most marginalized by providing them with healthy food that they can eat, but it also allows people, women, heads of households, women can have, can be doing something productive, which, obviously helps them support their families, but I feel like also probably for sure helps their mental state to be able to do something with your own hands and be productive and make money from that is so valuable, and to help the farmers. And I think that this is one of the smartest programs. And the last thing I want to ask you is, if you could say something to everyone listening to us today, you over there on the ground, seeing these things on a daily basis, not just seeing the need, but seeing the programs and what works and what doesn't work. If you could tell us, give us a message to take away from all of this, in addition to obviously the fact that, you need as much funds as possible to keep these amazing programs going, but what would you say to everyone so that they know and they're really aware of what you live through every day?
I will say simply that the Gaza Strip has never been in that much need of the humanitarian aid. And when we ask for donation for Gaza Strip, be sure that we keep the minimum fund, that at least to meet the basic needs of the people. We don't talk about issues rather than the basic needs of medication and also of food. So I believe that Gaza still needs your help, needs all the world support, especially that we don't have that government that can meet the needs of those people. Additionally, I think if we are talking about $130 that are enough to provide a family with food basket for Ramadan, for the holy Ramadan, I think it is maybe not a huge number, but you can... but at the same time, really it can affect positively on the situation and the families in Gaza Strip.
Thank you for putting it in perspective for us like that, to remind people that $130 will feed a family for the entire month, which sometimes, we can spend here on one evening, one meal sometimes for a family here. And so that's really amazing. And thank you. And I think, as you say, Gaza needs everyone's help right now. We cannot forget about Gaza from any perspective, not from the food perspective, from children and their nutrition, medication, and so on. And once again, God bless you for everything you're doing. And just to remind everyone watching that the more we can help, the more funds we can raise, the more we can feed people and make a difference in their lives. Thank you again, Hannah, and thank you, Noor. And I just wish you all the best and continue doing what you're doing and making a difference in people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Maha. Thank you.
Well, everyone, you heard it from Gaza, from these ladies doing this amazing work on the ground, helping people have a meal to eat during Ramadan, helping farmers have a livelihood, helping women and heads of households be able to feel like they're working and contributing and taking care of their families. And all of that we can only continue doing with your support. So please go to kinderusa.org, contribute whatever you can during the last week of this holy month of Ramadan and beyond. Obviously, any time that you can contribute and any time that you can donate makes a huge difference in the lives of people in Gaza. Thank you again, and hopefully we will see you soon with another KinderUSA Speaker Series episode.